Hello everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Ankush Goyal and I'm a Senior Technical Account Manager at AWS. In today's video, we are going to talk about how you can consolidate your S3 inventory into a central account. And to talk about that solution, we have Pino, who is a product manager in S3 inventory. We have Balu Singh, who is principal solution architect, and we have Pranjal, who is solution architect at AWS. So before we start talking about folks, can you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers? You can start and then we can go to Balu Pranjal.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. My name is Pino Suleiman, and I'm a product manager on the S3 team.
Thank you, Pino. Balu?
Hey, my name is Balu Singh. I'm a principal solutions architect at AWS, and I have been with AWS little over 10 years. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Balu. Pranjal, you want to go next?
Yeah. Thank you, Ankush. My name is Pranjal. I'm a solutions architect at AWS. I have been with AWS for over 4 years now, and I'm based out of Seattle.
Thank you, Pranjal. So, folks, before we start talking the solution, can you talk about what is S3 inventory age and what are the different use cases about S3 inventory?
Yeah, I can start with this one. So Amazon S3 inventory provides object level information about all objects in your bucket, along with their corresponding metadata, such as object size, encryption status, storage class, and more. You can choose among a CSV, ORC, or Apache Parquet as output formats that are written to the destination bucket on a defined schedule. You can also configure multiple inventory to list the objects for your bucket or a prefix. We're seeing customers using it for multiple use cases. Just to name a few, you can use S3 inventory to gain object level visibility for your data in S3, to audit and report the status of your objects for your business, compliance, or regulatory needs, and to simplify or speed up any big data and analytics jobs, as you can query the inventory data using Amazon Athena, Amazon Redshift Spectrum, and other tools like Presto, Apache Hive, and Apache Spark.
Got it. Thank you, Pino. One quick question I have, like when we configure this S3 inventory and when we get the inventory data, does it get the metadata for the storage classes like Deep Archive or Glacier?
Yes, so within the inventory report, you get metadata for the objects, and this metadata include the storage classes that are supported in S3.
Okay, perfect. So next, can we talk about how user can configure this S3 inventory?
Okay, Ankush, I will take this question. User can configure S3 inventory on a bucket using AWS Management Console, CLI, REST API, or AWS SDK. The bucket that inventory lists object for is called source bucket. It is labeled as Amazon S3 bucket here. The bucket where inventory list file is stored is called destination bucket. It is labeled as Amazon S3 inventory over here. On the source bucket, you configure an inventory to list the object and publish the list to the destination bucket. You can choose which format you want the reports in. The supported formats are CSV, ORC, and Apache Parquet. You can choose how often you want to generate inventory report, daily or weekly. On the destination bucket, you must have a bucket policy to give Amazon S3 a permission to verify the ownership of the bucket and a permission to write files to the bucket. Here's how the bucket policy look like. You can see it grants Amazon S3 permission to the bucket. It allows Amazon S3 to write inventory report published by the source bucket to the destination bucket. Destination bucket must be in the same region as the source bucket. At the defined frequency, an inventory report is generated from the source bucket and send it to the destination bucket.
Okay, so that's great. So we can configure inventory on the source and it would deliver that report on the destination bucket. So Balu, right now we talked about a single bucket. What if user has multiple buckets in the same region? How that solution would look like?
Sure. So if you have more than one bucket in your region, or if you add new bucket,
Mm-hmm.
you have to configure S3 inventory on those source buckets,
Mm-hmm.
then add appropriate or update your bucket policy so that when reports are generated from the source bucket,
Mm-hmm.
they can be delivered to the destination bucket.
Got it. So any new bucket comes in, they have to do these two steps to configure the S3 inventory and update the S3 bucket policy.
That is correct.
So till now we talked about multiple buckets within a region, but users operate from multiple region. So what if they have a different region, how or what they need to do?
So if you have another region within an account, they
Mm-hmm.
have to follow, user have to follow the same process where they configure S3 inventories on the source bucket
Mm-hmm.
and update or add bucket policy on the destination bucket so that when reports are generated from the source bucket, Amazon S3 can write those files into the destination bucket.
Got it. So what about if we have like our organizations, like users have multiple accounts within their organization? Do they need to do the same in every account?
Yes, so let's assume you have in organization more than one account.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to configure the source bucket and the destination bucket as we explained in the previous steps.
Got it. So, Balu, with this, if someone need to go and check the inventory, they need to go to a particular account and particular region to read that or to check that inventory, right?
That is correct.
So they have some Athena or Redshift connected in that particular region for the S3 bucket, and that's how they will read it, right?
This is correct. So let's assume you want to read these reports.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to read these reports, you can configure, as you mentioned, Amazon Athena
Mm-hmm.
on each region across account,
Mm-hmm.
and you set the location of the table as this destination bucket. So you can query this data and do some analysis.
Got it. So, Balu, this is great that we can set it up, but with many of our organization, they don't want to give their users access to their all the accounts, and they also want to centralize the data instead of going to the each account and doing that. So, do we have any solution where that S3 inventory can go to a centralized account instead of we are collecting it in each individual account?
It's a great question. We heard this question from many other customers as well. So the solution that we have built does consolidate S3 inventory report for all source buckets in
Mm-hmm.
a region
Mm-hmm.
across account and deliver it to the centralized inventory bucket in that region in
Mm-hmm.
a designated account. That
Okay.
way you have a single place
Mm-hmm.
for all the inventory reports within a region
Mm-hmm.
in your designated account.
Oh, that's great. So, can you talk about a little bit more about that solution, how and how people can configure and how that solution work?
Sure, Ankush. Let's assume a scenario where you have an organization with multiple accounts, and each account has multiple regions, and each region has multiple buckets. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm showing two accounts.
Mhm.
You can have more than two accounts to implement the solution that we have provided. To implement our solution, the user must have to designate one of their account as the central AWS account. From the central AWS account, they can run AWS CloudFormation stacks provided in the solution.
Mhm.
This stack creates an IAM role in each account, which grants needed S3 service permission such as get and list S3 bucket, get and put S3 inventory configuration. It also creates a trust with central AWS account to assume this role. Next, from the central AWS account, you can run the Python script provided in this solution. This Python script performs 3 tasks. First, it creates a destination bucket for each region in the centralized AWS account. The destination bucket is labeled as Amazon S3 centralized inventory. It configures an inventory for all the source buckets across account and adds appropriate bucket policy to the destination bucket. Lastly, it creates Athena work groups and bucket to store Athena query results per region. At a defined frequency, the consolidated reports from all source buckets in a region across accounts are written to the destination bucket in the same region in the AWS central account. You can analyze the data from this destination bucket using Amazon Athena, which is automatically configured in each region in central AWS account.
That's great, Balu. So now user don't need to go to each of the account to configure the S3 inventory. This solution is going to do that for them and consolidate all the data in a central account.
That
So
is correct.
I have a few questions. What if a user has a new bucket in any of the account or any of the region? So how that solution will take care of that new bucket?
So let's assume that you add a new bucket in any account in any region.
Mhm,
The next time this script, that Python script that user run,
mhm,
it automatically detects that particular bucket,
mhm,
add S3 configuration for it,
mhm.
and accordingly update the destination bucket for that particular bucket in the region where that bucket is assigned.
Got it. So next question I have, Balu. In the starting, we talked about that when configuring the S3 inventory, you have options like you can get the data weekly or daily, and you have option that you can choose a particular Parquet format or CSV format. So with this solution, does our users have, or in this Python script, users have that option to configure that what frequency they want to collect the data and in which format they want to collect the data?
It's a great question, Ankush. Before we build this solution, actually, I went and polled with many of our customers
Mhm,
to understand that what is the popular format and how often they are running inventory reports if they are.
mhm.
So from the poll, what we have learned that most of the customers would like to see the output format as Parquet, and they normally run their reports weekly. So the solution that we design is set for format as Apache Parquet and frequency as weekly. But these are the two parameters that user can go in the Python script and change as per their requirement.
Got it. And other question, Balu, like with this solution now, we are collecting data from many accounts, many region into a centralized bucket. Does it cause any performance impact to the buckets?
That's a great question, Ankush. No, it does not cause any performance impact. The reason is this inventory is managed and produced by Amazon S3.
Mhm, got it. And the last question, Balu, I see the lambda here, but we have not talked about it. So how lambda is related here and what is doing?
Again, that's a great question, Ankush. I almost missed that one. This AWS Lambda function performs a couple of tasks here.
Mhm,
First, it copies the Hive prefix from the inventory report to a new prefix, centralized inventory, in the same bucket across each region.
mhm,
It adds two partitions to the Athena table. bucket name,
Mhm.
and date, which is the date of the inventory report.
Mhm.
So if you want to analyze objects from specific bucket and from specific inventory report, you can filter them using bucket name and date. This helps in reducing the cost for running Athena query and
Mhm.
optimize your query performance.
Got it. So it does not need to go to the all the data because we have create some kind of indexing within the bucket to get the data from there.
That is correct.
Thank you so much, Balu. That's all the question I have. I'm looking forward to see how it works uh, in a demo.
Okay, so for demo, I'm going to hand over to Pranjal.
Yeah. Thank you, Ankush, Ballu, and Bino. Um, I'm now going to demonstrate the solution and show you how you can query your S3 inventory data once you have deployed the solution. For the purpose of this demo, I have already deployed this solution in my environment. So what that means is I have already deployed the rows using StackSet. I have run this script. Uh, I ran this script a week back so that we have inventory data. I have already set up the query mechanisms, the Lambda functions. They are all in place. So this solution, what I'm going to present is the end result of once you deploy the solution.
Got it. So,
And
Pranjal, one thing I want to ask, I forgot to ask Balu earlier. Pranjal, you mentioned that you already deployed everything so that you can get the inventory data. So, does it take a lot of time to get the inventory data once we configure it?
it can take anywhere from 24 hours to 48 hours to get inventory data in. Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ankush, for that question. So let me navigate to my S3 console and show you at the very basic level what this solution has done for you, right? For example, if I select this bucket here, and if I go to the management tab, you will see that this solution has already created an inventory configuration for you, right? And what this inventory configuration does is it is sending all the files to this particular S3 bucket with the
Mhm.
which has the prefix inventory, right? So the
Mhm.
name of the S3 bucket is S3 inventory, followed by the region, followed by the account ID, right? Similarly, if you look at any bucket right now in my account, let me go to this other bucket. Again, if you scroll down to management, you will see I have this inventory configuration already created for me, and it is pointed to a bucket which is again in the format of S3 inventory, followed by my region, followed by my account number, and the prefix as inventory, right? So right now, I am in the account which I have chosen as the uh, central account to collect all of the S3 inventory configurations and consolidate them on a per region basis, right? And
Right.
you can see here I have these two buckets, right? These two buckets, they have very unique name. The unique name is S3 inventory dash region dash the account ID, right? So this is the unique name this solution gives to
Mhm.
the S3 bucket that will consolidate data regionally. You
Okay.
only see, yeah, you only see two buckets here, one for US East 1 and US East 2. That is because I only have S3 buckets in these two regions. If I had let's say a bucket in the US East 2 region, you would have another S3 bucket here with the name S3 inventory USS2 US East 2 followed by my account ID.
Got it. So basically, whatever region you bucket serve is in central account, you'll get a corresponding inventory, centralized inventory bucket here.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and check out this inventory bucket, right? Uh, when I showed you the individual bucket, you saw that all of the inventory configuration was being delivered to
Mhm.
this inventory folder, right? So this is where you see if I select this, this is where you see that all of the inventory configuration reports they are being delivered from the account. From this account which ends with 8721, from the account which ends with 7166, right? All of these inventory files are being delivered to this inventory prefix, right?
So
uh,
basically, one bucket, one object or folder per bucket in the particular corresponding account or region, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then if I go back to the top level, Balu also mentioned about the centralized inventory folder that is created by the Lambda function.
Mhm.
So what this folder does for you is it optimizes the query mechanism by consolidating all the symlinks and then partitioning them as per date
Mhm.
and then as per bucket, right? So
Okay.
this allows you to query the inventory as per date and as well as with the bucket name, right? So this is how the consolidation works. The step one is all the inventory configurations are created, all the inventory files they are sent to the inventory folder here, and the
Mhm.
second step where the query mechanism is created so that the query experience is optimal for you.
Right.
So let me go ahead and show you how the query part of this solution actually looks like, right? The first thing I would say, if you head to the top right corner here, you see that um, you have a work group created, and
Mhm.
this work group allows you to uh, have control on which users can run queries on the work group and how you can control cost, right? So
Mhm.
we are using this work group to run our queries. Here you also see that the table has been created, right? So you have the inventory table that has been created for you. If I expand this, right, you will see various fields from the object metadata, like bucket, key, which is the object name,
Mhm.
storage class, replication status. Scrolling down, I also see the object access control list field, right? This
Mhm.
field was added back in July this year, that is 2023, and
Mhm.
this field tells you which accounts or groups are granted access to this object and the type of access that is granted. Right? This
Got it.
field is, yeah. So this is what it tells you. So let me go ahead and preview this table, right? And as I preview, you can see the first 10 records of this bucket. They are from like two different accounts, right? So
Mhm.
these buckets are housed in different accounts. I've just named my buckets in a way so that you can make out that, hey, this bucket is from a different account, this bucket
Right.
is from a different account.
Got it.
uh, and then let's say that one of the purposes of us to create this solution is for you to be able to play with these metadata fields. Like for example, you have bucket, you have key, you have size. So let's say I want to figure out how many objects I have uh, that are above a certain size, right? If that is something I want to look at, right? So out here I have a query here, right? Object size, that's how I have named the query, right? So in this query, what I'm doing is I'm selecting uh, all the records which have size greater than 15 kilobytes, right? So if I run this query, right, what you will see is all the objects which have size greater than 15 kilobytes, they will pop up once I run this query, right?
Got it.
Yeah, so this was like just a very basic example of like how you can run a query. You can look at some other fields, like I would say next to size you have this last modified date. So if
Mhm.
you want to figure out uh, um, like after 24th of October, what objects were modified or created. You could run a query like this where you can uh, select on the date and you can select on the bucket name, right?
Mhm.
And that's how we have partitioned the centralized inventory a folder as well, which we saw in the previous tab, right? So if I run
Right.
this, you will get all the objects which are modified or created after October 24th.
Right. And on these kind of scenario, that optimization, the lambda created prefix will come into the picture instead of going to all the buckets. It's just go to the particular prefix and get to the.
Yeah, that's a spot on, Ankush. You are absolutely correct there. Yeah. Apart from doing these basic investigations, our customers use Amazon S3 inventory for cost optimization. They use it for security auditing purposes. They use it for compliance purposes. So I'll show you some more examples here. For example, let's say one of the easiest way to um, cost optimize is that if you have duplicate objects, right, you can delete whatever object is duplicated, right? So this query out here can help you identify um, duplicate objects, right? So what this does is it uses the e tag. E tag is the entity tag, and entity tag is the hash of an object, right? So if two objects have the same e tag, that is entity tag, it means those are duplicate, right? So if you run this query, right, you will get to know, okay, in which bucket do I have duplicates, and this query will identify all the duplicate objects within that particular region, right? For
Mhm.
whichever, yeah. So if you run this, you will see, okay, um, yeah. So you see, I do have room for a lot of cost optimization. I see there are multiple duplicates for certain queries here. Um, Another way that you can optimize your cost is by uh, using the right storage class. By default, if you are uploading an object and you don't specify like a storage class,
Mhm.
S3 standard is the class that um,
Right.
yeah, it is assigned to, right?
Mhm.
But with S3 you can choose the storage class based on the data access pattern, based on your
Mhm.
resiliency requirements, based on your cost requirements. So for example, I would use S3 standard for frequently accessed data, right? But if
Mhm.
I have less frequently accessed data, I would go for S3 standard infrequent access, right?
Right.
um, if I'm not aware about my data access pattern, I'll go with S3 intelligent tiering, right?
Right.
If I want to archive my data, I'll go with Amazon S3 Glacier storage class, right?
Mhm.
So all of these things. So once I identify, okay, how are my objects being grouped, right? For example, when I run this query here,
Mhm.
right, I see 48 objects are in the standard class. So it does look like that I have not optimized my objects. Uh, it feels
Right.
like that there is room for investigation here, that should I be moving these objects to like different classes, right?
Right. So based on those query, like the data you're getting, you can take action and you can either put a life cycle policy or move around those subjects.
Correct, Ankus. Yeah. uh, and then just one thing I wanted to touch upon was this non-encrypted, right?
Mhm.
So in Amazon S3, you have the option of encrypting your objects using the Amazon S3 managed key, right? Or
Mhm.
you can use like a AWS key management service, which is AWS KMS key, or you
Mhm.
can use like a customer provided key, right? So these are the options using which you can encrypt, right? Now let's say
Right.
you want to audit your environment and see, hey, which of my objects are not encrypted, right?
Mhm.
So you can filter on the encryption status, right?
Mhm.
And you can define it as not dash sse, and you can see, hey, are there any objects which are not encrypted? In my case, there are none, so I'm following AWS best practices, right?
Right.
uh, Similar to encryption status, you can also query upon, let's say you have some compliance requirement and you want to check the replication status. So replication status is also another field, right?
Okay.
So the S3 inventory can help you with security auditing and also making sure that you're compliant with the policies. So this is all I had for the demo, Ankush.
Sure.
Back to
Thank
you.
you so much, Pranjal, for walking us through that how one user can query. And then it's good to see that instead of going in each region, in each account, and querying this data and then consolidating it with this solution, I think we can have everything at one place, and a user can just query in that particular account and get data metadata for all the objects in across their organization. So thank you so much for showing it.
Thank you, Ankush.
Thank you so much, Fox. Now, do we have any AWS documentation or blog which users can follow as a step-by-step guide to implement this solution?
So yes, user can scan below QR codes to learn more about Amazon S3 inventory and also step-by-step instruction of the solution that we discuss in this video.
Thank you so much, Balu. Balu, Pinu, Pranjal, thank you so much for coming online today and talking about this solution and providing guidance at how our users can consolidate their S3 inventory in a centralized account. So thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ankush.